Hello lands, lassies, and those of unspecified gender, it's the Irishman here, and today we're going to be talking about all the different versions of Buu, and more specifically ranking them from weakest to strongest. I have heard so many people talking about this is the strongest version of Buu, this is the strongest version of Buu, although I'm done. I'm going to clearly lay out who is the strongest, who is the weakest, and everything in between, that way this discussion can finally be over. Understand that I am not talking about who is the biggest threat to the Earth, who is the biggest threat to the Z-Fighters, or even who would win in a fight if one-on-one fights were to break out between the different versions of Buu. I am only talking about power and which one is stronger than the others. Pretty obviously, coming in at the bottom of the ranking is Fat Buu. Fat Buu is the latter half of Majin Buu. He split into Evil Buu and Fat Buu. And Fat Buu is the weakest version of all of the Buus because he lost to Evil Buu, who is the second weakest of the Buus. I know I just said we're not going to be talking about who beats who in a fight, although Evil Buu did beat Fat Buu, which leads me to believe he's more powerful, even though they are pretty much the exact same. This feels like a good time to mention that there should be no drinking games involved with this video. If you took a shot every time I said Buu, you would already be dead. The third weakest Buu, although weakest is a relative term seeing as he could destroy a galaxy, is Majin Buu, the combined force of Fat Buu and Evil Buu, who, although should mathematically be stronger than Kid Buu, is still weaker because the Kais absorbed inside of him are restraining his power, rather than amplifying it as you might suspect, although because they're inside of him and weakening him, he's weaker than the pure incarnation of Buu. Then after that there's Super Buu, which is what happens when Evil Buu absorbs Fat Buu and becomes a more pure version of Buu, although since the Kais are still inside of him, he is still weaker than Kid Buu, although it's much closer than Majin Buu. So close in fact that the next person up on this list is actually Kid Buu, and I definitely am going to have to defend myself. Yes, Kid Buu is incredibly powerful. He was able to go toe-to-toe with a Super Saiyan 3 Goku, a Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, and nearly was able to survive getting a spirit bomb chucked at his face, although he did still die there, and even though I can definitely see an argument for him being the strongest, I've heard a lot of them, he was still ultimately defeated by weaker characters that lost to the next person on this list, Buicklo. Well, kind of. It really could be interchangeable here, seeing as we have no feats for Buicklo. He immediately absorbs Goten after absorbing Piccolo, although it would make sense to say he's equal to, if not stronger than, Kid Buu. But again, they are interchangeable. I just feel as if the absorption benefits of Piccolo would outweigh the restrictions imposed on Buu by the Kais, although again, it is very interchangeable, and it could go either way. Although the next person on this list could probably take on Kid Buu and Buicklo at the same time, because it's Buu-Tanks. Now this guy is one of the main reasons I said not who wins in a fight, but rather who has more power. Because Buu-Tanks, although defusing after like 20 minutes, would still be able to massively overpower everybody before him on this list. But you know who he couldn't overpower? Buuhan, who is literally just Buu-Tanks but absorbing Ultimate Gohan, who was able to go toe-to-toe with Vegito. Yes, he lost, horribly in fact, although the fact he was able to at least put up a decent fight means he's stronger than every other incarnation of Buu, except for the absolute strongest, Skinny Buu. Skinny Buu is what happens when Buu actually trains. Apparently, he has the same sort of BS as Frieza, where he can do push-ups for a couple of months and now is ultra powerful. He was able to go toe-to-toe with Super Saiyan Blue Goku, and no other person on this list would stand even a millisecond. Kid Buu would try and launch an attack that destroys the planet, and Skinny Buu would just eat it and then murder Kid Buu within plank time. The difference in power is so extreme, I cannot stress just how powerful Skinny Buu is in comparison to everybody else on this list. Well, except for the actual most powerful incarnation of Buu, except he's not technically Buu. His name is different than everybody else on this list because it doesn't go B-U-U, it goes U-U-B. We're of course talking about Oob, who is the reincarnation of Kid Buu. Now, I'm not technically talking about Oob from Dragon Ball GT, although that doesn't discredit his strength. Instead, I'm referring to Oob as we saw him in the Moro arc. He was able to supercharge Goku's Spirit Bomb, and is most likely comparable to the entirety of the cast from the Moro saga combined. That's right, folks, technically, from one feat alone, he might actually be as strong as Beast Gohan. Although, we don't have any concrete evidence of this, and thus that's why I'm just putting him barely above Skinny Buu, since although he is most likely much more powerful, we really don't have a lot to go off. Although, what we do have leads me to say he's definitely the strongest version of Buu, but even if he's not, he's at least the strongest version of Oob. And yes, I do get the irony of me constantly saying throughout this video, Kid Buu is not the strongest, Kid Buu is not the strongest, and then putting Kid Buu's reincarnation at the top of the list.